Johnny, how you doing? Where's my dip? Bernard, Ricky. How's it going? How y'all doing tonight? Appreciate the like. How's it going? Anything exciting going on tonight? Good to hear. Rolling up sleeves. I think it's good. What's your question? We got to I'm actually on two platforms right now. Rex, what do you say not yet to? Anyone know is there any program out there where you can stream on like multiple platforms at once? What's your question via loan? Appreciate the likes. Appreciate the likes. A1 question. I got kicked out for DV. So I assume that's domestic violence. But case got dismissed. What are my chances of re-enlisting? Hi. So that depends on your RE code. So when you got kicked out for DV, what was the RE code that they gave you? That re-enlistment code is what is significant. Potentially, I would guess maybe an RE4, which is a bar to re-enlistment. V alone stated that he's 43 years old. Does he think he can still join? Will they increase the age limit? 40 43. I know the Army just previously they would give waivers up to 42, and I just believe they passed guidance that now they're accepting individuals up to 42 without a waiver. But the best thing to do is talk to a recruiter to get the latest information on the age limit. What's the take on steroids? So steroids are still an illicit substance, and you could be separated for steroid use or possession. But typically, you see individuals get a general under honorable conditions for steroid use. So, got a question. Any advice for someone who wants to be a judge advocate? I think the biggest thing is, deciding what branch you want to join. So, for the most part, well, not for the most part. So the UCMJ applies to all the different branches. And then the administrative law is pretty much similar because it's based on DoD instruction and statute. There are some nuances between the services, But the different services also offer different incentives. I know the Air Force is offering um, Austin. How you doing? So the Air Force is offering like $125,000. The Army's offering $65,000. I don't know how much the Marine Corps is offering right now. We'll get Austin. I said 8 o'clock. We'll make that call at 8 o'clock in the morning. Question: if they're getting a general under honorable discharge, can they go back in? The general under honorable conditions, that's a characterization of service. What you have to look at is the RE code, that reenlistment code. If it's an RE4, that's typically a bar to reenlistment, and you have to get that upgraded. If it's an RE3 or 2, then my understanding is you can get waivers from that. Hi, Haley. Appreciate the follows, appreciate the shares. Question: what are my chances of being retained at an ADSEP board for pattern misconduct, one failed UA, one DUI? So I assume you're Army, and when you say UA, you mean positive urinalysis. So the Army says UA for positive urinalysis, and for the Marine Corps, that's unauthorized absence. But I think that's a big hurdle, a positive urinalysis and a DUI. You need that pension. Fenton, why do you say you need that pension? I don't have that pension. I got out after 11 years active duty. Someone asks, is that true? Can a recruiter give you confirmed duty station to make you sign the contract? I'm not sure if that's true, but there's a saying about recruiters. How do you know if they're lying? Their mouths are moving or their lips are moving. Oh, run, Fenton, run. Of course, you get that pension, you can retire, especially if you get 100% VA disability also. AC says, can you advise on ethics reviews concerning fundraising? I would love to be able to chat. So one good resource that it's, as attorneys, we have different resources to reference as quick references of the law. And one of those resources, or a lot of those resources, are located on the TJAGLIC's website. And one of those resources, there's a criminal law resource, quick reference book. There's one that relates to fundraising. Someone states that they have a joke about Marines, all in good fun. Yeah, you could. I don't get offended easily. Actually, I don't get offended. Can you be chaptered out of the Army when you end up innocent in the end? What do you mean by that? I mean, you could be chaptered out and not be charged at all and still be chaptered out. So the quick reference, if you Google the Judge Advocate General's Legal Center and School, there's a sublink for desk book and handbooks. If you click on that, You can go to criminal law and get the criminal law desk book. So you could be a, seasoned barracks lawyer. The one that you're looking for related to fundraisers, that's under administrative and civil law desk books. Most likely the standards of conduct. I'll pull that up real quick. Yeah. So if you go under there, you could find the references for, fundraising. Since that's not something that I do every day, advise on every day, that's where I would go to look at those references and get guidance. 33 messages. If I miss your message, pardon me. Appreciate the follows and the likes. Can you be charged with disobeying a direct order? Yeah, you can be charged with disobeying a direct order. You could be charged with disobeying an order from a superior commissioned officer. If found guilty, not in a time of war, maximum punishment is 5 years. If you're found guilty and it is in a time of war, a maximum punishment is death or can be death. Can I join with a robbery 2 charge? I'm not sure, but I would think no. You'd have to talk to a recruiter. What's your question? Say a civilian court found you innocent in the end, but the moment you were arrested, immediately what? Chaptered out before getting convicted. So you can be chaptered out without you can be chaptered out without charges. Are you saying that you went to a civilian court and you were found not guilty, or they threw out the charges? Just because they throw out the charges doesn't necessarily mean that the military can't administratively separate you. So you see this a lot in like DV cases where, out in town they might drop the charges, but the service, the branch still separates that service member or sends them to an administrative separation board and they get discharged. So, got a question. Now that I only have my associates in paralegal and getting my BA, I have a year left, but my dad's GI is about to run out. So, I was thinking I want to go in the Air Force and go to school same time. Can I? Yeah, there's plenty of service members who are active duty and go to school at the same time. It's a little more difficult because basically you you're working a full time job, and that military job takes precedence over your schooling. So some people do online school, or schools that are located in the vicinity of military bases are a little more flexible. 37 messages, so pardon me. Can I juggle? Nope. Can I join the military if I'm under investigation but no charges? You'd have to talk to a recruiter. They might be hesitant if they find out you're under investigation, because what happens if the investigation's complete and then you're facing charges? Rex, you're welcome. Joe says, I don't know, Joe. Is 54 too late? I would think so. Princess is funny. My cousin has been in 3 weeks and his commander gave him syphilis. I wonder how that happened. Hey, for all those asking about RE4s, RE4s are a bar to re-enlistment. You have to get that upgraded. And for that, you have to specifically address that RE code, that re-enlistment code. So someone says, honorable discharge here, but got NJP'd. Is my name still in the system? So what I would do is I would pull an FBI background check, because for some things you don't even have to be NJP'd. Sometimes if you just have law enforcement interaction on an installation, they may put you in the national database, NICS. So what you can do is you can go to Google FBI background check. And one of the first results that comes up is a website for the FBI called Identity History Summary Checks. And basically, what you do is you can go to the sheriff's office, get your fingerprints done, and then you take that fingerprint card, fill out the form that's on their website that you can print out, and an $18 money order, send that into the FBI, and they will give you your rap sheet. 41 messages. If I miss yours, pardon me. Oh, Tarek says he's at the MEPS hotel. Good luck. Oh, Cole, that's a good reason to do a discharge upgrade. So you did go to court for the DUI and you were found not guilty. You don't have to post this on the live, but if I may ask, what they chaptered you out? Did they give you like a general under honorable conditions? Will I get interviewed by an investigator for Air Force Security Forces? What do you mean interviewed by an investigator? If you have to do an SF-86 for a security clearance, you'll be interviewed. And people you put as references will also be interviewed. I've done that a couple times for people. So someone Rex is asking about law school and joining the Air Force. So if you commission as an officer in any of the branches, they have law programs where you can apply, and if you get selected, that branch will allow you to attend law school for 3 years, get your get your license to practice law, and then come back as a JAG or judge advocate. If you get selected for that program, it's called FLEP, Funded Legal Education Program. You owe the branch 6 years after you graduate. 20 messages. If I miss yours, pardon me. Just submit an SF-86. So yeah, with the SF-86, they're eventually going to, they could interview people that you put down as references to ask about their character. What's the breaking point between getting NJP'd? I can't really give you an answer. There's different levels of NJP. There's company grade NJP. There's field grade NJP. So it's at the discretion of the commander. If someone's underage drinking, they can get a counseling, or they can be NJP'd. If you're late to formation, you can be NJP'd, get just a talking to, or a written counseling. If you have multiple absences or unauthorized absences, you're late multiple times to formation, then you could be separated for a pattern of misconduct. Lucas Ura Semper Fi. Hopefully your reference doesn't mention your investigation. Hopefully not. Hopefully they don't mention that night where they don't mention the night with the midget strippers and cocaine. Can you get the VA and GI Bill with an other than honorable? No, you have to have an honorable characterization of service for the GI Bill. You're placed on admin leave at a job because someone online made allegations about you. Said you're evicted while in AIT in 2022. Am I eligible to sue? You need to talk to legal assistance. So on every military installation, there's a legal office called legal assistance, and they deal with issues outside of criminal law. So if you bought a lemon, if you're having landlord tenant issues, go to legal assistance, and they have attorneys there that can advise and assist you. Can your orders be pulled for you if you have a court date with the civilian side? Yes, your orders can be pulled. Will a JAG handle a mill on mill defamation of character suit? No. So the lawyers, the JAGs at legal assistance, they're only there to advise you. So, and they can do things like powers of attorney, wills. If you have an uncontested divorce, they can help also, but they're not going to. But that's about it. If you want to fight over kids, money, the dog, the cat, they're going to tell you to go out and hire lawyers or hire a lawyer to take care of that. They're not going to represent you in court. Does every service member complete an SF-86? I'm not sure about that. If you, I know all officers do because they require a security clearance. So the SF-86 is for a security clearance. Did I get a law degree? Did you get your law degree from being in service or before? So I was already in the Marine Corps as an officer, and I was about to get out, and I found out about the law program. And so I applied to the law program and I got selected. So then I went to law school for 3 years at the Louisville, Kentucky, or Louisville. In Louisville, Kentucky, I passed the bar, and then I went back to Camp Lejeune, and my first assignment was a defense attorney. And then I served as a legal advisor, a deputy staff judge advocate to Mickey East. And then I got out after 11 years at my 11-year mark. Yeah, I mean, the military has some great opportunities and great programs, even for those that want to join the military and are not yet in. Um, a guy that I was in law school with, after the first year, he didn't want to do law school anymore. So he wanted to do nursing. So he actually signed up with the Army, and they gave him a stipend, and he focused on nursing. Another um, Another fellow student of mine, her husband also signed up for the Army and as a dentist. And so he was able just to focus on dental school. They paid for his dental school, and they gave him a $2,000 stipend a month. And then once he was done, I think he was a captain at the time. But that time that he was in school, in dental school, he was gaining time in rank and time in and years in service for pay purposes. What's Lejeune Sweatbox? Dewey, what do you want to do in the military? You got an OTH for going into Mexico with family without authorization 4 months before my EAS. Bad mistake. Damn. 4 months. I mean, if your overall performance and conduct is good, no other issues, but that one, you going to Mexico unauthorized potentially could get a discharge upgrade. The courthouse. I haven't been to the courthouse in a while now, or at least a Lejeune one. I do have a DV case at Fort Jackson in outside of Columbia, South Carolina. Mainly focus now. I'm mainly focusing on administrative separations. Um, if I have a call for a court martial, may take it, but court martials are a lot of work and a lot of money. And the thing about court martials, those dates that you have to show up to court, those are like hard dates. That's where you're going to be that day, unless you're in the hospital. Whereas, for administrative separation boards, you can, kind of pick your date with the other attorney, and you can, if you need to switch the date, um, it's not that difficult to do. What's ADSEP? Administrative separation or chapter. So for the Army, they call it being chaptered out. Marine Corps calls it ADSEP, administrative separation. Robbie, do I ever think about getting a real job? Every day, every day. If I got a real job, I wouldn't have to hustle as hard, but that's pretty boring. What is a pattern of misconduct? Pattern of misconduct, for example, that's if you have multiple NJPs or Article 15s, if you have multiple written counselings. Appreciate the follow. Appreciate the follow. Maddie Buns, people getting out in Chapter 514 at a huge rate right now. Where's that at? Are you saying across the board or at a particular location? So when people in the comments refer to chapter, automatically know they're Marine, or I'm sorry, they're Army. And when I got out of the Marine Corps and then started practicing law on my own, I had to get used to the different nuances and jargon for each branch. For example, I think earlier I mentioned, if you're late, you don't show up. unauthorized absence. So Marines call it a UA, but the Army, when they refer to UA, they're talking about a positive urinalysis. Is a DUI basically autosep or like getting kicked out, hurt of people ruining their career with one? Yeah, I mean, especially I know for especially for officers, and particularly Marine Corps officers, if you get a DUI, you should start looking for a new job. If you get two DUIs across for any branch, if you get two DUIs in your career, it's mandatory separation proceedings. Appreciate the follows. What if I just whiz in the UA Cup? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. How can I upgrade my characterization of discharge? So, when you want to do that, the first thing you should do is request your military record using SF 180, Standard Form 180. If you've been discharged after 2014, you can go online and make that request using Mill Connect. And the reason why the first step is to get your complete military record is because when you do a discharge upgrade and you submit that package, that argument with enclosures, they're going to pull your military record from the archives and they're going to take a look at that. So you want to make sure that you view that before you submit a discharge so that you address everything negative that may be in there. And you can also highlight, positive things. So that's the first step. In addition, you want to start gathering character statements, do a local background check, an FBI background check. In addition, if you do volunteer work, that's going to look good. Asking for a friend, an MPO being placed allegedly for SA, sexual assault. How will that work out? So, an MPO, that's a military protective order. So, that basically is you have to stay away from a certain individual, can't contact them, can't communicate with them. Um, Make sure that they abide by that and that they do not try to communicate with that person through third parties. I've seen where they don't have enough for the main allegation, the original allegation of SA, but if they violated the MPO, then they charge them for Article 92. Oh, nice. Miami Gringo. We got Miami Gringo on the line. Knew a Marine that got special court martialed. And then right after command let him medically retire. That's good. That's good. They don't have to kick you out. They don't have to kick you out if just because you've been court martialed and convicted. While I was still active duty, I represented a gunnery sergeant who was caught with 128 ounces of Mary Jane. He was, by the time he went to court martial, he was already at 20 years, did multiple deployments, no other issues in his record other than the 128 ounces of Mary Jane that he was being court martialed for. So he was convicted on that. However, they did not kick him out and he was allowed to retire. What's in Article 92? When you don't obey an order or regulation, would you call Trump on a Mexican? Would I call Trump on a Mexican? I'll tell you this, I'm all for legal immigration, but one thing that I saw today that I thought was bullshit was there's an article where the homeowner was getting their roof replaced, and he owed the he owed them $10,000, and instead of paying them while they're still up on the roof, he called ICE. That's pretty messed up. Appreciate the follow. Can you undo an Article 15 after I've signed? What do you mean? Are you talking, Article 15 NJP, Captain's Mass, all the same thing? When you say after you signed, after, I assume you might be Army because you say Article 15. Are you talking about after your first reading or after your second reading where the CO found you guilty and gave you punishment? So if the CO already found you guilty and gave you punishment, you can appeal within 5 days. If you've signed for your first reading, basically notification that they want to Article 15 you, you can always deny it, even if you originally signed that you're going to accept Article 15. Before that second hearing, you can deny Article 15. Memo: how hard is it for someone to get a discharge upgrade with a pattern of misconduct? Any question about getting a discharge upgrade, it all depends on that particular person's overall service record. How much, you know if they, for example, if they're on a 6-year contract and did 5.5 years, and then that's where misconduct came up. They completed a majority of their contract under honorable conditions. So that's something to highlight. In addition, if they have a mental health diagnosis and it's service connected and can be attributed to the misconduct, then their chances of a discharge upgrade significantly increase. User 64, would you do that or pay them and call them? I would pay them. So I don't agree with illegal immigration, but I'm not going out there and I'm not going to go out there, track down people, call the authorities on people. I'm not the type to call the authorities on people that are, doing illegal activities, as long as they're not like harming women, children, things of that nature. Appreciate the follow. Where do I practice? Mainly I practice outside. Mainly I practice in the North Carolina area, Fort Bragg, Camp Lejeune, but I take cases all over. Going to Dallas in May and Japan in May. 585, you got a question. What question do you have? How far can you good evening, good evening. How far can you go with a Gomar? It all depends because, as you may know, if you're an E6 or higher, HRC, they do automatic scans of everyone's record in the Army. And if you have any negative paperwork in there, then you'll face a QMP, which is another shaping tool that the Army has. And you can be discharged at that QMP board, and you don't have a right to show up at that board. The only thing you can do is submit a packet to advocate for your retention. What happens if someone fails a medical lab for THC? So the regulations require that that individual be sent through administrative separation proceedings. So if you pop on a drug test, it's not separation is mandatory. What's mandatory is separation proceedings. There have been a couple instances where I've had cases where the commander believed it was not wrongful and decided not to send the individual through administrative separation proceedings, but that is very rare. Why do members still get separated with a case that OSTIC denied to prosecute? So when OSTIC, so there's different standards of proof at administrative separation versus court martial. So at court martial, you have to be convicted beyond a reasonable doubt. For administrative separation, it is preponderance of the evidence. So 51% more likely than not. In addition, for example, let's just talk sexual harassment. If OSTIC declines to prosecute, the directives say that that individual, for a substantiated sexual harassment claim, that individual has to go through administrative separation proceedings. Am I able to get back in with an RE3 and a general under honorable? Talk to a recruiter. I have heard of people getting waivers for an RE3. Should we talk to a JAG when being NJP'd? Yes. So when you're NJP'd, what you should do is when you're first notified, you should say, First Sergeant, whoever, Gunny, please provide me with the evidence so that I can consult with an attorney. And they give you the evidence that supports that NJP. You consult with an attorney, and then you make an informed decision on whether or not you're going to accept or deny NJP. So you can deny NJP. That's the best way to beat an NJP, is to deny it. But the commander then has the choice to send you to court martial or send you to administrative separation, give you a written counseling, or do nothing. But that's why you're consulting with an attorney along with the evidence, so you can make an informed decision. Because if the evidence is weak, then you may want to deny it, knowing that if they decide to take it to court martial, you have a good chance at beating it at court martial. 18 questions. Can I get back in after being drugged? They gave me an RE4. You have to get a discharge upgrade. Carlos, you can always deny an Article 15. Oh, Zach, that's a good comment, because I've been seeing that more often. And I actually, when I was in Texas doing an administrative separation board, I was talking to that military appointed defense attorney, and he said that he's been seeing that more often also, where they will they will offer a soldier, or yeah, they'll give a soldier an Article 15, which is an NJP for Marines, Captain Mast for Navy. They'll give that soldier an Article 15, and they'll reduce him in rank. And since they're reduced in rank, they hit RCP, which is maximum time and grade, and so then they'll be separated. I just was retained and fought for an individual at Fort Bragg where that person accepted Article 15, was reduced from E3 or E4 to E3, and then their EAS was changed, and they had to ETS or get out in just a few days over 6 months. But at the same time, they were up for automatic promotion. The command did not put in the right flag code to non-rec them for promotion. So they were supposed to get promoted like 3 days before they were to ETS or EAS for Marines, ETS. And so that person hired me. We fought for that person. I CC'd the general, um, mentioned doing an Article 138 against the commander, and they gave her that automatic promotion the person was supposed to get, and they were able to stay in. I do, Michael Smith. You can send me a text to that number that's displayed. Hey, Carlos says, I meant even after denying, it's like they want you out already, just like separate you, no court. Yeah, I mean that's like, for example, in the Marine Corps, if you deny a NJP, they may give you a 6105. And right now, last I checked, if you have a 6105, you can't re-enlist. So they'll allow you to make it to your end of service, your EAS, but you'll be unable to re-enlist. If we go to war here with Iran, that might change. How long does ADSEP take, or administrative separation take? It all depends. It's command driven. So I've had people that are awaiting administrative separation for 6 to 9 months. Oh, crawl space, CFI. Okay, okay. Putting it out there. I did awesome at your trial. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Glad you're doing well. Max, can I expand on a chapter 10 in lieu of court martial? Yeah, so chapter 10, that's Army. In the Marine Corps, it's called a SILT, or separation in lieu of trial. Army calls it chapter 10. It's basically the same. It's the same thing, separation in lieu of trial. And basically that's when you're facing court martial and you decide to take a plea deal, so to speak, of being administratively separated with an other than honorable. Crawl space. Oh, you're just putting it out there. Crawl space. Yeah, I know your name, Brandon. I wasn't sure you wanted to put it out there on the live. But again, glad to see you doing well. But I knew you were going to do well, regardless, just because of your disposition and positive attitude and motivation. Do you lose any benefits with an OTH? You essentially lose all VA benefits, but as they say on the VA website, you should still apply for benefits through the VA website and then ask for a character determination. And if you do that, even though you have an other than honorable, for VA purposes, they may view you as having a general honorable conditions, and then you'll get all the benefits associated with a general under honorable conditions. Hey, Brandon, appreciate your comment. Keep doing well. Good to hear from you. Zach, am I still in Texas? No, I'm not still in Texas. I was in Texas. What was it? The 10th through the 14th. Back in the Carolinas. You're trying to get out mid-contract. What should you do? I mean, other than misconduct, there's only a few other ways to get out without doing your full contract. There's like hardship, medical. I mean, I don't have generals on speed dial, but if I think that someone's really getting screwed over, I might CC the general on the email traffic, and that gets people's attention. That's not something I do typically. Only when I think someone's like truly getting railroaded, and I've reached out to the command, and the command's just pretty much like, "Hey, screw this person," and they don't have like good grounds to be kicking them out. That's when I'll CC the general. And I don't know these people. I ask the person to get that general's email address, and then CC them on the traffic. And then what happens is, like, their lawyers start calling me, pretty much being like, "What the heck?" Can I rejoin with the three alpha separation code from the Air Force to a different branch or even back? Got to talk to a recruiter, but I've heard of, I hear people are getting waivers for RE3s. Appreciate the follow. So Jonesy says, I was separated in 2017 with an OTH on my second enlistment. So, Josie, the good news is you earn your benefits. So you've earned your post 9/11 GI Bill, you've earned your VA disability and your VA home loan and access to the VA based on that first enlistment that you completed. But here's the caveat. So if you have any service connected injuries, they're only going to give you disability compensation for anything that's related or that originated in that first enlistment. If you get kicked out in your second enlistment, any service connected injuries that originated in that second enlistment, you're not going to receive compensation for. A Booze 992. Are you a recruiter? Where are you out of? Zach, I agree. That's why I enjoy doing what I do, because most of y'all are good people, just had a lapse of judgment. I can't judge. I've been lucky, but I've done a lot of dumb shit in my life. Appreciate the follow. Jonesy, you've tried to fight him on it? Days of Our Lives, what are you not impressed with? Appreciate the rose. Appreciate the rose. Any advice for a new paralegal entering the military? No, just be teachable and take initiative. Spin. Any tips you would have for me? I'm joining the Marines in June. So, I never went to boot camp. I wasn't enlisted as an officer. So we went to OCS and TBS. But what advice can I give you? Um, Make sure you're physically fit. Make sure you're PTing beforehand. When I went in, I was in college. I was smoking, drinking, partying, not PTing. And so when I went to OCS, um, I got a stress fracture in my hip, uh, multiple stress fractures and torn meniscus. And I think mainly that was because I wasn't PTing before I went in. So I would say definitely PT. Nothing hard. Just make sure your body's used to running. Brandon really, really want to join, but falls short on the ASVAB due to learning disability. I mean, have you tried to study? How can you have a barracks bunny? Tell us what a barracks bunny is. Is it true you can be separated just because you can't adapt to the branch? That's true. Buddy of mine got a hand tattoo while he was in, and they chapered him. Think I could replicate? Yeah, I mean, if you get a tattoo like that, you could be separated. First sergeant yelled at me for walking on the grass. Can I sue? No, you can't sue first sergeant. Why are you walking on his grass? Jonesy, I was diagnosed by civilian doctors when I was in for all kinds of mental health issues. Redmo, I've been AWOL 185 days. I need help. I'm scared. Go back in. What what branch? So it's better to turn yourself in sooner rather than later because you'll have a warrant out for your you'll have a warrant out, and no one's going to go out looking for you, but the next time you have law enforcement interaction and they run your identification, then they'll see that warrant, and then you'll have to be sent to an installation and be processed out. So there's people that have been deserters for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and then finally they have that interaction or they turn themselves in, and then they have to go through the process of getting chaptered out or administratively separated. So it's good just to do that sooner rather than later. What's in admin September? I don't know. Jonesy, yeah, you can message me. You're welcome. 20 plus year welder. That's good. Get that pension and that disability. Damn, Lance. Lance says he got kicked out of ROTC due to a positive year analysis, and now he has to pay back his scholarship. Brandon, what were you asking? Is there anything I can do? My welding and engineering speak for itself. Just can't pass. KB 27 Rex for military families to protect kids legally if something happens to you. What do you mean by that? Protect them in what way? So, got a comment. I'm dealing with MedBoard and legal at the same time. Can I just get out with MedBoard? So, how that works is those processes, that process can happen simultaneously or contemporaneously. And the separation authority gets to pick whether they discharge you medically or they discharge you for misconduct. It depends, where you are in the process. But about 6 months ago, I got hired for a guy that was going through med board, and due to his medical conditions and all his appointments, he was, he wasn't showing up to work, and they were giving him counselings and writing him up. And just by looking at him, you can just by watching him walk, you could tell he was very, very injured and hurting. And so he hired me, talked to the legal team, and they decided not to pursue, you know, involuntary administrative separation, and just allow him to go through the medical process. Oh, KB 27. So the courts can't assume custody and they go to the family. Let me go back. So one thing, KB 27, one thing you can do, one thing, so one thing military families can do is they can go to legal assistance and get a will drafted for free. And during that process, they can name guardians for their children. And so if anything happens to them, you have that will that states who they want the children to go to. They can also, while they do that will, they can set up a trust. So they have service members have SGLI. That's the life insurance, and so that's like $500,000. And so what they can do is, upon their death, that $500,000 goes into a trust for the benefit of the kids and is managed by a trustee. And that money can be used for the children. Even with if there's a service member and a spouse and they have kids, I still recommend that trust being set up and that money not going directly to the spouse. Reason being is, when you set up a trust for the benefit of the family, then creditors can't come in and take that money. For example, say the money, the beneficiary is the wife in this example. If that money goes directly to the wife and she gets sued for some reason, say she has a car accident where she's at fault and she gets sued, or there's creditors going after her, since she was directly given that money and it wasn't put in a trust, the creditors can go after that money that she received. I failed the UA and having a meeting with the commander and other leadership. Am I getting kicked out? So the regulations state that if you have a positive urinalysis, then you have to face administrative separation proceedings. So it's not mandatory that you get kicked out. It's mandatory that you face administrative separation proceedings. You have a lawyer on the military side. The thing is, it was unwell while everything happened, hence MEB. Okay. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people, I mean, that's why people reach out to me and hire me, because they're appointed military attorney. They may they may only have joined, in the last year, been out of law school for, a year or even less. And so they reach out to me just for the experience since I've been doing this for 10 years. User 34, you're scared shitless. It was only marijuana. I mean, marijuana is an illicit substance in the military's eyes. ASAP, I have a legit learning disability. Can the military discriminate? The military, yes, the military has standards, minimum standards. Dan the man, Ura, Semper Fi. And then Briz Nasty, ADD, ADHD, dyslexia can keep you from being able to join as well. How long did it take to get to be a lawyer in the military? Well, I was already in the military. I got my bachelor's degree before I joined. My father was enlisted, so he's about the only time I listened to him when he said, go get your college degree first, because life's a little easier and you get paid better as an officer. So that's the one time I listened to him because I did want to enlist initially. Um, so I was already in as an officer, and then I applied to a program that all the branches have, where they allow you to go to law school for 3 years. So I went to law school to Louisville, Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky, and got my degree, passed the bar, and then did my payback of 3 years and got out. What happens to pets and big furniture during a divorce? I don't know what. Is that a joke, Emilio? You all have to, divvy those up or fight over it. I wouldn't recommend fighting over animals and furniture. At the end of the day, your lawyers are just going to make a lot of money, and you two are going to be out a lot of money. The more you fight in a divorce, the more the lawyers make, and the more broke you get. Appreciate the rose. Appreciate the rose. Oh, dog. I've never represented someone for war crimes. Oh, dog. Yeah, message me. Said you're in the Coast Guard. I went to MOS school with the MOS school for judge advocates is in Newport, Rhode Island, and Marines, Coast Guard, and Navy go to that MOS school. The Army goes to Charlotte's to T. Jaglix in Charlottesville, Virginia. You got a what's a GCM? You got a general court martial bad conduct discharge for abusive language. That sounds pretty extreme. Appreciate the follow, O Dog. Oh, you got your license taken away in Okinawa. Was it your license to drive in Okinawa? Oh, if it was just your license to drive in Okinawa, then if you're back in the States, you can drive. Like the military doesn't take away your state ID. So like on a military installation, if you get, a speeding ticket or a DUI, or just say you were speeding, they may take away your driving privileges on that installation, but they don't take away your state license. Oh, you were driving with a suspended license, like your state license was suspended? I'm gonna have to get off here in a minute. Oh, the sofa one. Yeah, so they just took away your privileges for driving on Okinawa is what it sounds like. Appreciate the follow. Appreciate the follow. You went to Mass last year. Mast is he's saying captain's mast. So Article 15 NJP. How many years do you have to retirement? Diego, appreciate you. Okay, 5.5. You're pretty close. You're almost there. Carlos, how long does it take after you submit it? Could be 12 to 18 months. Army, even longer potentially. Sean's an HM, so hospital corpsman. Appreciate the follow. Shit. Appreciate the likes. Oh, damn, you trained Harrier pilots. Lee, insane commander in chief. Appreciate the follow. Yeah, I saw Harrier when I first joined. I was stationed at Cherry Point. That was my first duty station. Cherry Point in Havelock, North Carolina. And it was pretty cool just seeing the Harrier, the vertical takeoff. What are you saying, Mr. Cancun? Return deported veterans home. What do you think about the Rapala jointed deep diving husky jerk? I don't know. I haven't been fishing in a while. Is that what you're talking about? Rapala? That's a brand of like lures. Is it good? Oh, 01 to 05?